Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise this morning to give my contribution on this matter of public importance about infrastructure investment. I want to reflect firstly on the two contributions by the government on this matter of infrastructure investment. I said in my budget contribution yesterday, I'm often appalled and surprised about the behaviours in this place. And to have a member of the government stand for less than a minute and reel off one or two items of infrastructure, not necessarily talk about how bold or appropriate or about how productive that infrastructure is, and then go on a rant to speak in a really negative and vulgar way about people in this place, I think should expect and require the government, when they're having their meetings, for members to really reflect on their behaviours in this place, because it's appalling, and I have never really seen anything quite like it, where you want to stand up and speak positively about infrastructure, clearly have nothing to say, and so just roll out. I think our leader referred to him as an attack kitty. I quite like that, because I'd actually written at the same time that they just roll out their horrendous, appalling attack dog when they've got no record to stand on. A record of infrastructure investment just from my area of Bass. We do have the local member here in the chamber with us. There was for years encouragement in the community to get behind this idea about a Tamer Bridge. What this government do about infrastructure announcements that they never have any intention to deliver, or in fact now I'm starting to question whether they actually have any capacity to deliver. They just throw these balloons out and put these carrots out into the community to attract votes and support by raising infrastructure expectations in a community that they never intend or are unable to deliver. A bit like, although it's not infrastructure, the conversation around the last election, not this one just gone but the one before, around dredging. There are people in the community that feel deeply about such issues, but they trust and want to believe a government that raises these issues time and time again. I spoke yesterday about the announcement around the Launceston General Hospital, the $580 million that our community expected that this government would invest in a timely way to respond to the ever heartbreaking realities of the lack of ability for the great people working at the hospital to deliver care for our community in a way that they have trained and dedicated their careers to. It really just isn't, it's just not right. And we have the Minister, the Treasurer, stand and talk about truth. Now, this is a conversation about infrastructure investment. Our leader has outlined how really this government not being able to get the basics right and not being able to deliver on investment is just so obvious and so repeated. But I want to take the Treasurer up on this comment about truth. He talked about truth in announcements. They wanted to come up and stand about infrastructure announcements. We know that they just throw those out with any intention to deliver. But I want to go back to a time that we were together, Minister. We were together in Launceston and you stood and you made an announcement to the public. You might remember your colleague and friend, the Australian Ombudsman for Small Business, was in town. And he was in town and you made an announcement that you would implement small business friendly councils. You were the local minister at the council at the time. There'd been lots of ministerial changes. I know you might not remember that, but I remember it. We actually captured it on video. You made an announcement that you never intended to deliver. I, in fact, joked at the time with you and said, don't say that. You can't say that. You don't intend to do that. You are just standing up and lying to the community directly.
Order.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Yeah, you don't need to make a point of order.
Mr Speaker, I'll address it later in the day if time permits, but I simply won't tolerate that, and I will correct the record later, and thank you for asking her to withdraw.
Yeah.
I withdraw that, Mr Speaker. So I will love to see the implementation of small business friendly councils, because the first speaker this afternoon or this morning talked about business confidence, employment. The way that you actually support your businesses is by telling the truth to them, Mr Speaker. Now, infrastructure investment, you talk about historic infrastructure. Labor stands proud on our history of delivering productive infrastructure, intergenerational infrastructure to this community. We were the people that delivered the hydro. We invested initially and made the announcements about the irrigation. We were the people that made the announcements about the replacements of the spirits. How did your spirit replacement process go? How did your announcement and then withdrawal and then backflip go on those spirits? How's the delivery on that going? Our leader quite rightly pointed out that if you actually do have a decision that you announce, and then you have a piece of infrastructure that you want to try and deliver but you don't really know how, you delay it so much that it costs the Tasmanian people extraordinary amounts of inflated prices once you actually get to the point to start. The pet project of the Treasurer, the Midlands Highway, the pet project that he has been working across and attempting to deliver for so long, that those rollouts that you had to roll through the potholes. I know that he probably runs that road as many times as I, probably more. And so he will be well aware of his ability to attempt to deliver infrastructure so poorly prosecuted, and that the poor state of that road had to be delivered and then re-delivered. This government cannot stand up this morning on this matter of public importance and stand on a record of infrastructure investment. This government should be ashamed of its inability to invest in infrastructure, because it cannot deliver. It doesn't know how to deliver. I have an interjection here quite beautifully from the Sports Minister. We are in trouble, so we just try and distract. I won't go to the Commonwealth Games, but I'll go to a piece of infrastructure, the floating stadium in Hobart. Yeah. Your government off the back of an envelope, scratching up some prices, says maybe 750, but now comes out and says we're going to do a feasibility so we know the actual cost if we ever intend to deliver.